So something happened recently that showed me just how much my whole mindset has changed. About 10 days ago, I got 2 messages from a hiring manager about a job I had applied for years ago. And not just any job, a job back in my hometown. A job that, if I had gotten that message this time last year, or honestly at any other point in my life, I would have been so excited, so grateful. I would have thought, oh my gosh, this is it. This is my way out finally. This is the key to my freedom, being able to support myself fully. It would have meant a paycheck, a house, stability, something that looks good on paper, something that makes sense to other people. And when I saw those messages now, I really didn't feel much of anything. There certainly wasn't any excitement. Well, that's not actually 100% true, I guess. I felt clarity and almost revulsion, to be completely transparent, because I realized something. That opportunity would have saved the old version of me, but it would have betrayed the person that I am now. And that was a really powerful moment for me. See, 3 years ago when I applied for that job, I was still operating from survival. I still thought the goal was to secure something stable enough that I could finally exhale. I still believed that if I just found the right job, the right environment, the right setup, I would finally feel safe. But here's the truth that I had to learn the very hard way. Not all security is safe, and not all stability is freedom. If I moved back to my hometown, yes, I would probably be able to rent a place. I'd probably have a predictable income. I'd have something that looks respectable. But I would also be placing myself right back into an environment that I fought my entire life to break free from. The same dynamics, the same narratives about who I am, the same expectations, the same subtle coercion disguised as concern, the same energy that taught me to doubt myself in the first place. And I simply cannot unknow what I now know. A year ago, I might have called that responsible. Now, I call it bondage. And I know that word sounds dramatic, but I don't mean it dramatically, I mean it psychologically, because for me, freedom isn't about square footage or Wi-Fi access or having the perfect setup. Freedom is about not waking up every day feeling like I have to shrink, perform, or defend my existence. Freedom is not having to explain myself. Freedom is not being the topic of constant conversation. Freedom is not feeling like I'm surviving inside relationships or environments that slowly erode me. Right now, my life might not look conventional. I'm living out of my car. I don't know exactly what each day is going to bring. There's uncertainty, but there's liberation, and there is peace. And that peace is worth more to me than any lease agreement or paycheck could ever be. Some people would say I'm choosing struggle, but I don't see it that way. Struggle to me is waking up every day in an environment that suffocates you, but pretending it's fine because it pays your bills. Struggle is silencing your intuition because you're afraid of instability. Struggle is betraying yourself slowly in exchange for something that looks secure. What I'm doing right now, it's not as comfortable, but it's honest, and I certainly don't see it as a struggle. And I trust myself. That's the difference. When I read those messages, I didn't feel tempted. I didn't feel torn. I didn't feel conflicted. I felt, in hindsight, proud. Proud that I didn't immediately think, this will save me. Because I don't need saving. That's the shift. The old version of me was always waiting for rescue. Rescue through a job, through a person, from validation, from some external thing that would finally make me feel stable. The version of me now understands that if something costs me my peace, it's way too expensive. Even if it pays well, even if it looks responsible, and even if other people would approve, especially if other people would approve. And I think that's what sovereignty really is. It's not rebellion or impulsivity or running away. It's the ability to look at something that appears good and say, that's not aligned with me anymore. That takes self-trust. And here's something else that's important. It's not that I'm against being stable or having an income. It's just that I refuse to build it on a foundation that cracks my spirit. If stability comes into my life again, and it will be aligned. It will feel expansive. It won't feel like I'm crawling back into something that took me years to untangle myself from. I don't regret where I came from. I learned a lot. But growth means you can't go back and fit into a version of yourself that you've already outgrown. That job would have been a full circle moment in the absolute wrong direction. And that's what this really showed me. Sometimes the biggest evidence of healing isn't what you chase, it's what you no longer want. And it's the opportunity you would have begged for last year that now feels like a cage. It's realizing you would rather sit in uncertainty with your self-respect intact than trade it for predictability. That's growth. And I'm not saying this to convince anyone to make the same choices I'm making. This isn't about telling anyone to quit their job or reject opportunities. Of course not. This is about alignment. If something feels expansive and peaceful, then that's alignment. If something feels heavy and contracting, even if it looks good on paper, you might want to give it a second look. Because the old me would have called this irresponsible, but the healed me calls this discernment. And for the first time in my life, I'm not making decisions from fear. I'm making them from self-trust. And that absolutely feels like freedom.